hello there. Hi, I'm John D. You might remember me from videos like the other video I made. This is our video on motivation. Get freaking motivated! Right now it's raining, so I'm externally motivated to get myself inside. See, my childhood was rather tragic. It's not that my parents didn't give effort and they weren't trying.
Hey, you did a great job out there today, son.
Thanks, Dad. I did my best.
That's good, but you know, if you keep your elbow up there, you're gonna hit. I mean, you're gonna be a lot stronger in that throw. You keep your elbow up.
Okay. But I did my best.
Well, you know, if you get your knees a little bit higher there, you're gonna run faster than you did there when you were doing that. You know, that there running.
Dad, that is not at all your voice. You don't sound anything like that.
No crap, son. It's for a stupid video.
So there was always a motivation that no matter how good you do, there's always a step further, which I think is probably a big driving factor into why I have done one of the bigger mistakes in my life, and that is making my goal my standard. Making your goal your standard is probably a really unhealthy thing that people do. So if I make my goal graduating from Harvard Law, and that's what I want to do, and I work towards that, and it doesn't happen, but I still go to law school, or I still accomplish these things, and I become something different, that doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means that my goals and objective changed. However, if I make Harvard Law my standard, that means that graduating law school from just about everywhere else becomes a failure. See, I was raised in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school. I went to a Christian Bible college. Nothing in my life was my best unless it was God. Hey, what do I need to do with my life? What God wants you to do, son. Well, what's that? What do I do? How do I get there? Well, son, the Lord has a good and perfect plan for your life. And if you want to know what that is and not be a complete freaking failure, seek Him. So if I fail, I'm walking the devil's path, but if I succeed, there's really no accountability or success there, except for the fact that I simply did what God wanted me to do, and that there was, through Him who gives me strength, is the only reason I accomplished it. So those aren't really my accomplishments, but my failures are certainly going to send me to hell. I was always worried, even from a young age, of falling prey to that, so I ended up at Bible college. After getting expelled from high school and kicked out of my home, and the more I learned, the more questions I had. Fast forward a bit. Coming to a personal conclusion that I no longer believed in a God. Have a different perspective maybe as to why it might be a positive thing that we're turning more to sports than we are to the churches. So my motivation becomes a mix of internal and external. The internal has changed. We've changed the goals, the standards, and made them goals. We've not necessarily lessened the standards, but altered the standards to accommodate the fact that life is full of wonderful mistakes.
Yeah, that's not good.
Hey, what are you doing?
The disguise won't calibrate effectively without a smooth surface to grasp through.
Oh, for a second there, I thought you was trying to fix my dents.
Yes, I was.
Well, then, no thank you. I'm gonna get them dents buffed, pulled, filled, or painted by nobody. They ain't way too valuable.
Your dents are valuable.
So when you deconstruct the faith, it's not an overnight thing. It takes a very long time, and you do so for like the rest of your life. And so my morals and my ethics, sometimes there's knee-jerk reactions to something, and then I have to say, okay, well, why did I feel that way? And that's because it was based on a religious standard that I no longer carry. So now I've got motivators. You're my little motivator. Sometimes motivation in a moment is the fight. Sometimes it's, I gotta make it through just to know that I can make it through. But really, it's because I want those things to look at me and to say, hey, that's how you do it. Further, it's in the present to be able to learn the skills and the capacity to care for, love, support my family, the people around me, my community, to be an invested person in making things better. That's my motivation. The negative motivations, I actually try and keep them at bay because I certainly have a lot of them, but a lot of them are very critical and come from a past where I had undiagnosed ADHD that they thought was demons. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to waste time there today. We can do that another time. Let's move on. With no humor added to this part, how do I make it through a tough time? I'm currently in the toughest time I've ever faced in my life. And yes, that's coming from somebody who's made it in special warfare. I've done, a lot of things that I should be proud of, and I'm probably not as proud of them as you'd think. But I do struggle with PTSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, ADHD, and depression. And so for me, the times when I'm not motivated to get up and go to the gym, or not motivated to do something or push forward, I recognize it. And the problem is if I use the same tactic over and over again, it's like the depression gets smart and it reacts and changes its pattern. And so the way I see it is kind of like you have to gut check sometimes. Sometimes you have to use the fight itself as motivation and say, hey, there's got to be something special on the other side of this, and I'm going to fight. And you use the fight like, oh yeah, you make it hard, I'm going to get harder. You make it tough, I'm going to be tougher. And you take that as a challenge, and I turn it into a competition. And it doesn't always work because I think people misunderstand exactly what depression can be and what it is, and that you feel weak for not going through with terrible ideas. You don't, it's not a fear thing. It's that you're the heavyweight on your team. You're dragging them down. And if you don't do something about it, you're not worth it. You are hurting your team. And that's a terrible feeling. So it changes getting through tough times. But I can tell you that embrace that suck and get through the fight and remember that there's something special on the other side of it. I got silver. Is that because I'm old? Yeah, I like to disguise my exercise, but I think it's, I kind of agree and I kind of don't. I like my exercise to be fun. I like to be challenging. I like team sports. I like not team sports. I like creative things. Hey, if you can make something into a game, let's do it. That's great. As long as it helps me learn, helps me grow, helps me, get to the next step, bring it on. And I implement that into my coaching, which segues us right into the next part. I actually have kids that are that age, and would I let them play? Yes. Because I asked them if they'd want to play for that team, and they said, I have a lot of thoughts on the coaching, the Little Tyke situation. Yes, I would put my kids in it if they wanted to. They actually said they wanted to. Because I think that there is a physiological level of being capable of playing at that point. And I also think a lot of times we enable the quit. We enable the quit. We think comfort is what we need in that moment when it's not. I think that sometimes the vomiting is pushing past the level. It's like I tell my kids, actually, you have to train your weakness. And a lot of times that means you're going to train the thing that's going to make you the most uncomfortable. You're going to run until you puke because you're not used to running that much. Well, the next time you're not going to puke at the same point. You're going to puke at a later point. You're probably still going to puke, though. And there's ways to go about it, I'm sure, without, cussing at the children. But yeah, I think that sort of thing can be healthy in a controlled environment. And I actually think that there should be a governing body over those coaches that does expel them, that does suspend them, that does say, hey, there is no profanity on our fields and things of that nature, because they are still children. When they get older, I think those things can change. Cuss at them. But as children, I don't think they need. And listen, if you were not wildly impressed by a 91-year-old woman who had never touched a basketball before and is now the ringer on her team, that's amazing. That's a huge takeaway for me. Also, I have some other thoughts that I wanted to tie into that coaching thing, and it's about teaching kids to be angry. you know, like go out and spear that guy. I don't know if I'm going to tell my kids that, but I think that it's okay to be angry in a sporting event or on the field. I think it can be a good thing for your children who are your kids that you're coaching to not be nice. You do not have to be nice out there to the other team. This is a competition. You can be nice after, because I think that what you do is you actually teach them that emotional control that we've talked about before, and you teach them, hey, on the field it's okay, off the field shut it down. Be kind. Be kind. You can be respectful, but you don't have to be nice. And teaching them the differences there, allowing them to feel those things on the field, to feel so angry that they cry, and then, you know, they don't know what to do with it. Well, teach them what to do with it. This is an enormous place where we get the chance to teach them how to handle their anger, that it's not a bad thing, that it's how we use it. That anger can actually be a part of, hey, I'm motivated. Maybe it's not angry. Maybe that's just what they are there. Maybe that's motivation, and that hype is the way that it's coming out.